Hello and welcome. I'm Purvi Shah with Remax and I'm here with Vikram Patel from Animec. Today we are here to discuss the strategies which can help today's buyer to secure the home in this multiple offer buyer situation. Thank you, Vikram, for joining me.
Thank you, Puri. The pleasure is all mine. And you're right, today's buyer is going to need a lot more preparation and strategy on their part to be
Yes.
able to get a house in this market. So, Purvi, what are you doing specifically with your buyers to help them maximize their chances of getting their house?
That's a good question. What I do when I get a phone call from a buyer, first thing is that I would ask them to meet me at my office or I will meet them at the local coffee shop. The reason is that I want to build the relationship and trust with them and know what they are exactly looking for and how can I help them, because it's going to be a relationship for 3 to 6 months where they need to respect me as a person and I have to give them in a return the same thing. So I go through each step of the buying process and I create my responsibility and their responsibility as well.
Do you ask them for a pre approval at that point?
Yes, I do go over with their monthly numbers and I encourage them that they should sit down with a professional person like yourself. So, Vikram, what's the difference between a pre approval letter and a pre qualification?
Great question. We get that all the time. So, the main thing that our buyers have to understand is that pre-qualification is something that can be taken care of very, very quickly because it's pretty much generating a document that's going to allow the buyers to be able to get an offer in. But there's no due diligence or there's no guarantees that just because you've been pre-qualified that there's in fact going to be a mortgage that's going to support that pre-qualification. Pre-approval is what we encourage people to do it, and we expedite it as well. It's when we've not only just taken all the information in terms of documents, credit, and assets, but we've actually seen it from the lens of an underwriter. We know underwriters are the final authority at every lending institution. So this is underwriters' way of fully vetting the client, making sure that that mortgage is not going to be any challenges later on. And this way the buyer can be confident and fully prepared when making that offer, knowing that that pre-approval is definitely going to result in a mortgage without any headaches.
So, what's the time frame that you can close once the offer gets accepted?
So most of the times your buyers and sellers agree upon a 30 to 45-day cycle, but oftentimes we do see properties that are vacant. And the big strength that the buyer can provide at that point is the ability to close quickly. Now, because we've already pre-approved and vetted out their file through underwriting, we feel pretty confident to be able to close as little as 15 days. We've
That's a
actually
quick.
done it sooner from time to time, but
That would be a big advantage for some of the sellers.
like especially when the properties are vacant, or if the
Yes.
seller just kind of knows they have their future game plan figured out and they know where they're going, and sometimes the buyer and seller both kind of agree to a quick closing. So yes,
Yeah.
we feel very
Have there
comfortable.
been any situation where you were able to get a appraisal waiver for the buyers?
It's not common, but there are times. It just comes down to how many transactions have happened in a given neighborhood or a zip code. But if there have been some recent transactions and good comparables, we are able to create situations where the bank can completely waive appraisals. Now, the benefit to the buyer in those situations is you can now write up an offer and waive appraisal fully on the contract, not just because the buyer wishes to do that, but in fact, the bank just doesn't need to do an appraisal. So
And
it kind of
that's,
creates the uncertainty.
yeah,
It kind of
it's
gets rid of the
eliminating one
uncertainty.
step.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Is there any kind of requirement towards their down payment for that?
For the appraisal waivers, typically we do encourage good down payment. And when I say good, 20% or better.
Okay, so that's something that buyers should be aware about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's usually when the bank is going to be more likely to give that waiver. For a person who's looking to put less down payment, appraisal waivers are likely not going to be your scenario.
Okay, that's a good information. And how about the down payment help for the buyer?
The
Are
down
there
payment
any
assistance
program?
programs, yes, there are actually a few. There's some state programs, county programs, as well as city programs. We've worked with all of them, and it's good to have because I think a lot of buyers these days are very challenged, or the down payment and the closing costs are becoming very financially burdensome. So having that extra assistance can lighten up that burden and make things a little bit easier. So it's something we encourage buyers to definitely explore their options on.
Okay, and this is the very common question comes across to us. I'm sure you have to answer that often. So I'm going to ask you, how quick is your communication, how available you are during the process of presenting offer or for the closing?
We cater to what the situation demands, right? So when we're working with pre-approved buyers, we know that their success is going to really depend on that prompt communication. We're seeing highest and best offers, sellers wanting them quickly these days from the time a house gets listed to closing, not closing, but at least an offer accepted is a few days process. So I make myself very, very available. Phone calls, emails, text messages, whatever we need to do to help that prompt communication to get that buyer's offer in, and not just get it in, but even from that point up to the offer acceptance and getting them out of attorney review. I think it requires a lot of prompt communication for all of us as a team. So definitely something that's top priority for us.
So that's helpful to buyer because sometimes seller agent would like to talk to buyer's lender how they have done the approval.
Absolutely. It's all about preparation, working as a team, and really all participants involved having that confidence and knowing that when they are in need of communication, they're working with somebody that's going to give them that.
Thank you, Vikram. Those were really good tips that you gave it to us. Hopefully, this can help you also, whoever you are working with. This is Parvisha with Remax.
This is Vikram Patel with Annie Mac Home Mortgage.
Stay tuned for our next video.